ready. You ready? You ready? Hey.
Hey, what's going on?
What's up? Mr. Johnson, how you doing, man?
I'm doing wonderful, doing wonderful.
That's good. That's good to hear, man. You know, hey, the show is called Coffee with Zach, so I got coffee. Do you drink coffee?
I don't drink coffee, so I got my water here. I'm ready to go.
Cool. That's cool, man. You know, I've talked to so many different people. We've been doing these shows for 33 days straight, okay?
Nice.
And this was just my response to kind of do my part to spread positivity and then bring other people that are in the trenches. So it's not a Zach show, right? But, man, I've been excited. Okay, but I'm excited to kind of grand finale tomorrow with my brother and pastor, and but man, it's been exciting because we've talked to 33 days. We talked to 26 entrepreneurs. Okay, you're number 27, and I'm super excited to talk to you because me and you have we beat kind of the same beat, the same blood, I think, and I see what you're doing. So tell us a little bit about yourself. I always let my guests introduce themselves because sometimes they're in different seasons, right?
Understandable.
In different seasons to different people. So who's Mr. Johnson?
So I'm pretty much I've been an entrepreneur my entire life. I actually grew up in New York City. So I currently live in South San Francisco, but I grew up in New York City. I kind of grew up in a rough neighborhood. Got in a lot of trouble when I was younger, and I got a bit lucky. I actually, one of my friends got me to join a business where you buy into, being able, to sell different products that you don't own, that you license. And so I ended up joining this business at 18. He convinced me to go to Oklahoma City. At that time, I had never left the city of New York in my life. And there was a big conference going on in Oklahoma City. I had been in that business for about a week. And we were supposed to go to Oklahoma, and I didn't really have the money to do so. So my friend basically gave up his plane ticket, and he said, like, we'll drive down there.
Wow.
And so, at the time, I didn't realize how far New York and Oklahoma was. So I got in the car, and he said, this is how long ago this was. He said, hey, pass me the map in the glove compartment. So I pull out the map, and I'm like, yo, Mike, this thing says 24 hours. This is the wrong map. He's like, no, that's the right map, man. Long story short, we ended up going to Oklahoma, and I got a bit lucky, man. There was a party going on, and most of these people were a bit older. And so I sat outside and got a chance to meet a gentleman by the name of Paul J. Meyer. And Paul J. Meyer at the time, I didn't know this. I never even knew who he was. But at the time, he was a billionaire. He owned 65 companies in 85 countries. And when I met him, was making maybe about $400,000 or $500,000 a day. So I had never even thought that money was even possible growing up. And I ended up learning from him my first 5 years in business, his last 5 years on earth. And it really kind of set the tone for how I needed to think, because, growing up where you grow up, a lot of times you get, plugged into stereotypes, and you can learn that you can start to believe those things as who you will end up being. And he really started to say, if you shift the way you think, you can shift your life. And that was really kind of my beginning phases of walking into a business that I was able to do. So 18, I started that business. By 26, I built it to hundreds of sales reps across the country. I ended up selling a big portion of that business to a friend and decided to travel for a minute. I went to Africa and Dubai and hung out. Came back, I was like, all right, I got money, I'm gonna be an investor. And so I was starting to invest. Did well. I made some money, but I really kind of wanted to get back into operations. I wanted to start running businesses, doing things. And so I decided, while I was thinking about what I wanted to do, I would go into to public speaking. So I ended up going and traveling across the country, speaking at different events, training, teaching, coaching, building leadership, seminars, things of that nature. Did that for about 2 years. Ended up writing a book that became an Amazon bestseller, so that was cool. I always say you don't write a book for the money. You write a book so you can give it to your mom and she can smile. You can watch that smile on her face. So I did that for about 2 years. And then I finally knew, I said, okay, I know what I want to do. I'm going to get into tech. And so I was about to start a tech company, and something inside of me said, man, this feels like it's something different. You know, I got a lot of business experience, but I feel like I should try to get a little bit more experience from a tech perspective. So I decided to work for a startup called Meraki. Um, and, you know, that was my first corporate America job, my first official corporate America job. I joined this company. They had 45 employees at the time. I was with them for about 4 years, where I helped build the West Coast division of their channel enablement. So I basically trained, you know, their resellers on how to sell against companies like Cisco and Ruckus and Arrowhead and things of that nature. I did that for 4 years. By the time I was done with that, by the time I was coming close to an end, Meraki had about 3,000 employees. You know, we watched that entire thing grow pretty dramatically. They sold out to Cisco for about $1.5 billion. And that's really kind of when I got my idea of my company. And I knew this is what I wanted to do, this whole concept. For us, I learned at Meraki, which is this concept of like building a bridge between the physical and the digital. So, you know, if you understand kind of Web 2.0, you know, the concept of Web 2.0 was like, how do you do what you do in the real world online? Like, how do you buy stuff? How do you get stuff shipped to you? So on and so forth. Right. And that was the big shift when we started to really get on the internet. And then now the amount of things you can do in Web 2.0 is like so robust. You can do so many things online that you now can't do in the real world. Right. And so there's this transition happening called Web 3.0. And this Web 3.0 is where you have the ability to take what you do in the real world and in the online world and bring it back down to the real world. And so things like Pokemon Go, things like Amazon Go, like these whole concepts where your personal profile is now in the real world and you can start to do things with ease and simplicity, like, you know, Uber, you know, is an example of that. And that's kind of how our company was started, is the desire to build a bridge between the physical and the digital. And what we wanted to do was start with restaurants and kind of expand our way out. So, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what we're doing now. I've been running that company for about 3 years now. You know, we've got about 15 employees. You know, we've been doing a great job. You know, we just closed around recently. You know, valued a company at $8 million. So it's pretty cool to kind of just start the process. And we're really just getting going. Over 2019, we basically grew 50% month over month for the entire year 2019. And if it hadn't been for Corona, I think we would have been off to the races. But we're excited. That's a lot happening for us over here.
That's so cool, man. Man, what a journey. What a journey,
Tell
man.
me about it.
Woo! Man, so I can relate, man. I got pretty lucky too. 18, I was 17. I got somebody told me, hey, you need to meet this guy, you know, and you need to see what's going on. You need to do real business. Before that, I was living in my car. I was selling weed, and I was just desperate. Wow. You know, I grew up in a house where my brother passed away. I was abused physically, mentally, sexually, wow. And I was trouble, man. In my head, I was confused, man. I hurt people. So yep. I had bitterness. I was hurting people and selling weed, but I had a guy. I got lucky, right? Like you said, I got lucky. You know, I met somebody, and this guy was just like pushing me. And you know what, me and him aren't friends anymore, and that's another crazy story. But you know what, I still got lucky that he pushed me, and eventually I showed up to this place, and I see hundreds of people. I see 18, 19, 20-year-olds that are making, you know, 10, 20, 30 grand, and some of them had similar stories. They were like, hey, man, I used to come into these meetings with, you know, red eyes, smelling like a skunk, and now I'm a legit businessman.
Nice.
And I was like, man, I want to be a legit businessman. I want to stop doing what I'm doing, man. I'm running with thugs. I need to get away from these people, you know. And so I got started, and that kind of changed the whole course of my life too. So I could relate to that story, man.
Nice.
And I think it's a beautiful thing to have somebody who could keep you accountable to improving. You know, when we have somebody in our life that's like, hey, you know, maybe you should run some more, or maybe you should work out, or maybe they don't even tell you, they're just working out or they're reading, and
inspiring.
Being around them is contagious, right? So I think that's a beautiful thing, and a lot to talk about, man. I know you. So I want to ask you about your company, but I want to back up about your original when you got started. So you got started 18, you sold in 26, you kind of traveled, looking around. I know you're big on ministry, right?
Yeah.
When did that spark it?
So, you know, the funny thing is, I got started in ministry the same week that I felt like I got started in business.
Gotcha.
So up until 18, I had never been inside a church in my life. You know, I went to Oklahoma, and at the event, there was like thousands of people at this event. I'm sitting all the way in the nosebleed section, all the way in the back. And everybody who was going across stage, they kept saying, I want to thank God. And I kept thinking in my head, like, why they keep thanking God? Like, it was you. Like, you did it. Why you keep thanking God? And they kept saying, I want to thank my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. And I was like, I just couldn't understand, like, why are these people thanking God?
Right.
And one of my friends, they had this thing on Sunday morning where they got together in a hotel, and they had booked a hotel room, and they got together. And, you know, my friend was trying to get me to go, and I was like, nah, I'm not going. And then he said, nah, but I'll buy you breakfast. And at the time, I was broke when we was going there. So I was like, free breakfast? All I got to do is go to this event? All right, I'm down. I'm going. And so I ended up going to this event. And a gentleman by the name of Ed Paz sat and talked. And, you know, the crazy thing was, one of the reasons why I wasn't really a church dude at all was because, like, I always felt like churches, you know, pastors was crooked. Like, how are we going to have a whole conversation about hell, and then like 5 minutes later, like, all right, let's go get some chicken, right? Like, I just didn't understand the seriousness of it. And this Ed Paz, when he preached, he didn't really even preach. He talked, but he cried the entire sermon, like literally from start to finish. No joke. He talked about why the king doesn't want to see you in hell. I will never forget that. And I just believed him. I mean, that's just the real thing about it. I just was like, I believe this is real. And that was really kind of the beginning of me shifting, because prior to me being going into this conference, I was going to do music. So I was right in the middle of signing a record deal with Columbia Records. So from like 14 to like 18, I was doing music with my boy, and we were basically both we were kind of like the Eclipse. We were like a duo. So like we both were going into this deal together. It was a pretty large deal. I mean, you know, it would have changed my life financially. You know, it was in the millions. And I remember clear as day sitting in that room, and think about this. I'm a kid from the hood. Like, I don't have no connection to God. Never stepped into the church. Never had anybody preach to me. Nothing. And I heard God say clearly, I want you to give up music. Go call your friend and tell him you're not going to do music anymore. And I just remember crying so hard. And I get out of the room, and I call my boy back in New York, and I'm like, yo, I can't do music with you no more. And remember, it's super early. It's like 6 o'clock in the morning for him. So he's waking up like, wait, what are you talking about? Like, because he knows that contract is attached to us, not to him or me. And I was just like, yo, I can't do music with you anymore. And God told me that if you let that go, I'll bless you even more than that. Now, knowing what I know now, that was a 360 deal anyway. It was a bad deal. I was going to be locked into multiple contracts, multiple albums. I would have had to pay for all of the studio time. You know, it wasn't even a great deal anyway. You know, I didn't know that at the time, being so young. But like that was really my introduction into God, was like really at the same time as business, which is crazy because my entire life, I had from 12 to 19, I had a dream every night for for years. And the dream was 2 dogs chasing me. And I kept running from those 2 dogs. And I never knew what was going to happen at the end, because I always woke up before they caught me. And I remember one time somebody told me, hey, you could take over your dreams. Like you can take control of your dreams. And they said, all you have to do is like just stop and see what's going on. And I was like, all right, I'm going to try it. So one day I was like 19. I finally said, I'm tired of having the same dream every night. And so I just stopped and said, I want to see what's going to happen. So I stopped, and the dogs came. They big, huge dogs, like big, like Labrador, like Rottweiler type dogs. Right. And they both dogs start jumping on me and licking me. And then the guy, I can't see his face, but he passes me the leash and he walks away. And then I'm holding the leash and walking with these dogs, and they're like kind of running like crazy, and I can't control them. And about maybe, and that night, I never had the dream again, ever since that night. And I remember about a year after that, so this is like 2 years of me being a Christian at that point, a gentleman comes and he prophesies over me. And he says, your whole life you've been having a dream. I went to a conference, so I definitely don't know this guy. And I never even told my mom this dream. So I'm like, I was like floored, like, what are you talking about? And he's like, 2 animals were chasing you. And I just started crying. I'm like, yo, I never told anybody this. Wow. And he basically said, the 2 animals been chasing you and they've been given to you. And now you have to hold them. And he said, your struggle is going to be to learn how to hold them straight. And he said, those 2 animals are both business and ministry. Wow. And I was just like floored. Like that was like probably one of the realest moments that I've ever had with God, because it was like one of those things that says like there's no way he would have known any of that whole that what I had been dealing with for years. And so that was kind of my entry into ministry. It was really kind of at the same time as my entry into business. And it's kind of apropos that I kind of find myself doing both business and ministry, and it kind of worked itself out that way.
That's a beautiful thing. Who was it that prophesied you about knowing the dream?
I don't even know the dude. Some African dude, some random African dude. I never met him again. I don't even know his name. Nothing.
He's an angel.
I know, right?
That's beautiful, man. What a beautiful thing. So I believe that my calling from God is teaching ministry in the marketplace. Nice. So I truly believe that businesses have an opportunity to show, like an example of Jesus. Yeah. And it all starts with the business leader and the business owner. But there's companies that you could walk into. They're not preaching Jesus, but you walk into and you just feel the Holy Spirit. That's a beautiful, beautiful thing. But I'll tell you what, I discovered business first, and I was very, very reluctant to the ministry.
Understandable.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that say, they meet Jesus and they have this life-changing experience and everything is amazing. Mm-hmm. I met Jesus and I knew he was real for the first time when I was about 12, and my whole life was flipped upside down, and it was worse. It was worse. Okay. And, but I think the main reason is because I didn't really have a good mentor to kind of navigate me along the way until I was in my older 20s. Yeah. Or until my early 20s. But yeah, no, I mean, so I think that's a beautiful thing that you found both at the same time. And I love that story you're talking. I'm getting goosebumps, man. I'm getting goosebumps because that's the divine spirit. That's the Holy Spirit, man. You could tell. That was one of the reasons why I wanted you to come on the show, is because I seen what you're doing in business. I was like, oh, this guy's a legit businessman. And then I seen what you're doing in the ministry. I was like, man, I got to get this guy on my show just to relate, just to connect. Yeah. So how does I mean, so you let's go to what was it, Meraki? Is that what was the company? Okay, so I love that you finally decide what you want to do. You're like, okay, I'm getting into tech, but you don't know anything about tech, so you made the smartest decision that anyone could do, and it's humble themselves and go work for somebody.
It was tough.
I bet. Can you talk about that a little bit? How tough was it?
So something in my spirit, man, said that like this is a different game, and just get to know the game first. And when I was deciding on what company to go to, so I'm looking at a bunch of different companies, and I'm like, all right, I had offers to go to Twitter and Oracle and a bunch of other companies, and this little small company. I had made my decision that I was gonna go. I can't remember even what company I think I was gonna go to, but I knew I had made a decision. And this girl from Meraki, her name was Emily. She was like, Eugene, before you make your final decision, just come to the interview. And I was like, I don't really want to. I got to go away to San Francisco. At the time, I was living in Alameda, and I was just like, nah, I don't really want to drive all the way out there or take the train. I'm not gonna go. She was like, Eugene, look, here's the thing. I promise you, if it's not worth your time, I will give you a gift card, whatever I gotta do. just come. And I was like, all right, I'll come. So I ended up going to a place, and I remember looking around, and I was like, yo, all of the CEO, the founders, they all sat on the sales floor, so they were all like in reach.
That's legit.
And I was just like, I think I want to come here because I just felt like I could learn the most by being the closest to the flame. And I felt like the other companies were so big that I would have had to kind of work my way into getting close enough to what's going on for the full company. And so I ended up going to this company and deciding to work there. And I can't lie, the first couple of months was a struggle, mostly because I had not really worked for anybody in that type of capacity before. And to me, internally, I was an entrepreneur, but I felt like I needed to be there. And I remember the first demo that I had to sit on the line for. It was a girl named Star. She was doing the demo. I was new. I was in my first 90 days of training. I went to sit on her demo. And all I remember is her doing the demo, and every word that she was saying, I was understanding like is, the, him, it. And I was just thinking in my head, man, I took the wrong job, man. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. Because I just didn't understand the lingo. And what I realized in the shift between corporate America, one of the biggest things that I got there was the world of entrepreneurship that I was in and the world of tech corporate that I needed to build, the language was completely different. And I had to learn what the terminology was. I was talking about prospecting, and they were basically saying this lead generation. I was talking about doing a sit down, and they was like, oh no, this is just a demo, a presentation. It was just small little things that I needed to pick up on just to understand what actually was happening. And I would tell you this, and I mean this with 100% truthfulness. The business that I have grown today, I would not have been able to do without that 4 years at Meraki. I think that we almost died maybe 6 or 7 times in this current business. And it was my experience at Meraki that allowed me to navigate the waters of the difficulty of trying to find product market fit and trying to maneuver and move around and do all of these type of things. I don't think that, right now our organization is doing over $400,000 a month in transactions. That we were having a hard time just getting out of the gates in the beginning. And so I think that it was just a blessing in disguise to kind of say, okay, I'm going to take a step back to take a couple steps forward. And even in my interview process, the dude was like, Eugene, you got way more experience than this role can offer you. Do you really want this? And I was like, look, I'm going to be honest with you. Like, the minute I understand what's going on, I'm going to go start a company. But for right now, I do want it. And so he said, all right, I think that you're a good fit. I know you can do the job. Now the question is, are you going to stick around long enough to be beneficial to the company? And I said, I'll be here for a few years. I want to learn. And that was all she wrote. Now, watching a company go from 45 employees to 3,000 is a huge benefit. Like the amount of learning that the mistakes that they made that I was able to not make, the things that they did well, I was able to duplicate. Like, so it was a big blessing to take that step back, to take a couple steps forward. Probably one of the smartest decisions I ever made in business.
Wow. That's cool. That's really good to hear. I think that's important because whether people are watching now or whether they're watching the reruns, I think it's important just to humble ourselves. There's things we're good at and there's things we need to learn.
Yeah.
And if we humble ourselves and say, hey, here's what I could bring to the table, even if it's just showing up on time and giving it your all, and that's all you can bring to the table, that could be good enough.
Yeah.
You got to learn from somebody. And I think it's very important. It's funny. I have somebody, so in my marketing company, I do two main things. I own a marketing company that helps small, medium-sized businesses fundamental products and services. I mean, we do email campaigns, landing pages,
Nice.
kind of that stuff, fundamental stuff. And
Funnels.
then we have funnels, and then we segue them into being ready to do ads.
Got it.
Because I didn't want to just do ads with people just because they waste money if they don't have all this other stuff.
Yep.
So I focus on the other stuff. And I had a young man, he found me on Instagram. He's from Boston. I'm in California. And he emails me or text messages me or DMs me, right? And he says, hey, Zach, can we chat? I see what you're doing. I have a couple questions for you. I want to get into marketing. I had a couple questions for you. So I was like, all right, cool. Let me chat with you. So I'm chatting with them, right? And he's like, well, how can I get into this business? I want to learn Facebook ads. I want to learn this. I kind of know some of this stuff, but how do I get into business? And I just told him one thing. I said, look, you need to find somebody who you could connect with, right? They have the same morals as you, right? And the same beliefs, okay? Somebody you could vibe with, but find somebody who is doing what you want to do.
Yeah. And
just go offer them whatever you could give them and ask for nothing in return besides to learn.
Yeah.
And, he's right out of high school or right out of college, right? So I'm just like, what are your expenses like, right? Okay, you need to go get a part-time job then. Cover what you need to cover. Go find your dream and go tell them you're going to work for them for free. And I actually learned that from Les Brown, because Les Brown got on the radio show by doing that. He tells the story about coffee, right? You grab coffee for the guy. And
so I opportunity.
Yeah, you get the opportunity. And that was me, like growing up, that was me. Like I painted fences, I picked weeds, I knocked on all my neighbors' doors to do all that stuff. And then when I got old enough to work, no one was really hiring, but I went to a place and I just wanted to work there for some reason. Don't make fun of me, but it was a place called Color Me Mine. Okay,
Wait, really?
Yeah. First job ever. I was 16 years old, and I just wanted to make a little bit of side money. Remember my other hustle that I was doing, right?
Yeah.
So I figured I could do both hustles at the same time, right? How naive was that? And I was doing that. I got fired eventually. But anyways, I got my job there because I would go there to ask, and they would say, no, we're not hiring. No, we're not hiring. And finally I saw this older woman sweeping, and I was like, who's that? And she's like, oh, that's the owner of this franchise. I said, okay, thank you. I walked up to the owner. I said, hi, my name's Zach. Can I sweep this for you? And I just started sweeping. I swept for like 20 minutes. And then finally she's like, who are you? I was like, oh, I just want to help. I know you're not hiring right now, but when you are, I want you to remember me. And she's like, you're hired. Just go fill out the application. You're hired.
Dope.
And I think that more of that type of like go-getter, whatever it takes, willing to learn.
Yep.
Even though the guy was telling you, hey, you're overqualified, you were like, no, but I still need to learn this.
Yeah.
I want to learn this, and that's why I'm here. So I think that's the key, man. I really think that's spot on. You're never too big. I mean, you already made it happen. You're just going to the next chapter, and you needed to learn what it was going to take for that next chapter. So we got a few more minutes. Let's talk about right now. What are you doing right now in your business?
Yeah.
The type of business you have, am I mistaken? Is it like a point of sales?
Yeah. So basically we are, but it's not. That's kind of mostly our Trojan horse to get into the business. So here's kind of how we look at our company currently. So right now we decided the whole concept that I talked about as far as like, how do you bring the real world and the digital, you build that bridge. What we believed is the only way to do that in the early days is to do it through payments. And so you had to own the payments in order to own the profiles. Because what's the difference between you buying from Apple and buying from Amazon? Why do people buy Apple products on Amazon? The reason is because Amazon has created this layer of value for the individual user, whether it's shipping, whether it's discounts, whether it's being able to buy multiple things at one time. But the concept of being able to have this value add from Amazon allows for them to put layers on top of other businesses, even the successful ones. And so what we wanted to do is, because Amazon has won that world from an e-commerce perspective. But when you look at the real world, that whole opportunity is very much still open. And a lot of people don't understand this, but 90% of all transactions still happen offline. So people think that
I don't want to cut you off. We got a minute and a half. So.
Yeah.
All right. Go ahead.
Yeah, so a lot of people think a lot of those transactions happen online, but the reality is they happen offline. So what we saw was this opportunity to say, how can you digitize the real world? So we decided to start in restaurants, almost $1 trillion in transactions every single year. And our goal was to say, okay, we offer this POS system or this self-service kiosk system.
Right.
We use that system to gain users, and then through those users, we communicate messages to drive people back into those stores. So our whole process is to say, how do we do marketing on the back half, taking the data and the users that we gather to try to communicate the right message to the right person at the right time to drive them into the stores.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, I'm really interested. I'd love to learn more about your company.
Absolutely.
I wonder if there's I don't know if you're open, but I'd love to figure out maybe there's a way for us to maybe work together,
yeah,
partner up. But that's really cool. I love that, adding a bunch of value. You find something practical to get in the door, and then just keep adding value. I love it. That's what business is all about. No wonder why you are where you are today, because you just keep adding value to people, and your perspective is huge, really needed in today's economy. We got 30 seconds left. How can people support you or find you if they're a restaurant owner or whatever?
I would say if you're a restaurant owner, go to Zyrl, ZYRL.us, or you can go to our Instagram at Zyrl.us. And if you want to find me, it's at Eugene K Johnson, pretty much on every platform.
If you are a business owner or an entrepreneur, please reach out to me. Find my link in the bio, schedule a call with me. I want to talk to you. I want to connect with you. I want to know what you're doing to thrive in your business. And this is Coffee with Zach. You guys have a wonderful, wonderful day. Thank you.